of all your thoughts a fighting chance. Ask your fears and doubts, would you like to dance? And open up your eyes. See the world and let the world see you. Take the time to love the things you do, and you hear it when your spirit starts to rise.
Hello, welcome to Path to Wellness. I'm Christian O'Neill, I'm your host. Today's show is our first show, and we're going to start out talking about one of the oldest wellness systems on the planet. I think most people have heard of it, yoga. And with us today, we have a wonderful guest, Cypress Emery. She's a local yoga instructor and a true yogi. So we're going to be discussing yoga with her today. Thanks a bunch for coming. Thank you. Okay, so most people that are watching have probably heard of yoga. And for most people, it probably means doing the poses.
It's a all-inclusive path. Works with the body, certainly, because that's our vessel, but it goes way deep into all levels of our being. Like. So would it be accurate to say most people aren't aware of that? Would you say that's true? When they come in the door, most people are thinking, hey, yoga, I've heard it's good for you, it's a good workout. Yeah. That's true? I think for the most part, and I think that a lot of people who stick with it come to understand it's far more. So, but yeah, when I know that that's why I came. I was like, I'm going to take this, you know? Yeah. It's active. And so, but then it hooked me.
Yeah. So tell us about that. When you, we've talked a little bit before, and you used to teach aerobics.
Yes.
Is that right? This is back in the early 90s.
Yeah, before that, yeah.
Okay.
It was like all of these little aerobic classes, and then I became a personal trainer, so I did all kinds of like physical activity, and came to yoga in college.
Okay, and then what, you saw it advertised?
It was an elective.
Okay, you took it as a course.
Yeah, I thought it would be something, it would be fun to try. It was like a semester. Cool. And I loved it because it was physical, that class. And I didn't stick with it though because I thought there were other things I wanted to do more.
Okay, so then what brought you back to yoga?
I was very stressed, and I remembered feeling better after those brief times in yoga. Like I knew that there was Shavasana, this end posture that was like, 10 minutes to just sit and lay down. And so I remembered the de-stressing of those classes, and there was a gym class available, and I just started taking it, and I stayed there for years with my first teacher, I guess I would call her. And it was just really a largely physical practice, but I did always feel better. Okay. So, and then that's when I started to look at other avenues. Where do I, I really like this. I'm regular with it now. I practice regularly. I feel more balanced. What do I do now? And then there was a recreation center that had an offering for a weekend training, like to become a teacher, which I wasn't really interested in because I didn't like teaching aerobics, and I had long since quit. And when I went in there, I was like, I did like a few postures I'd never done before, and they went deeper into all of these different paths, and it was really eye-opening how big it was. And that's when I knew it was what I would do. I just didn't know to the extent.
Cool. So, so when you took your first training, how long does someone have to study before they can become an instructor?
People will teach just from their own physical practice. They've integrated it in their body, and so they'll go teach. There is a governing body, however, that tries to make sure that people have some basic understanding, and that's called Yoga Alliance. And so, like my program was a month, but they range anywhere from a month to sometimes years. It depends on the nature of the program. And that was my first training after the weekend one. And that's about 200 hours.
And then with that, you can go out and get a job at a studio? You're definitely more marketable because you've demonstrated some sort of knowledge of not just how to move your body. You know a little bit about the 8-limb path, maybe, things like that. Hopefully some anatomy, to keep the body safe, and hopefully some sort of breath, because that's a key factor.
And then there are bigger trainings. You can go and become a professional yoga teacher, things like that.
You know, it's interesting, you brought up a good point. There are probably lots of people in this country, and certainly in India, where it originated, that have never been certified to teach yoga, but yet are obviously, you know, very qualified for practicing for years and years.
Yeah.
But it's just something in our country, we tend to do those sorts of things, maybe for liability or something. People need to have this kind of credentialing. Is that true?
Yeah, well, and I think it just helps. It helps people to feel safer.
Okay.
You know,
that makes sense.
both for the practitioner and the teacher. However, yoga is an experiential path, so you really could have all the training in the world and have read every book, but if you haven't integrated it into your own body, it means nothing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That's a very good point. Now, I'm imagining that, so you do your first training, but you're not ready to jump into the eightfold path, so to in teaching that. Is that true? Is that?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there's just so much on it, and what I appreciate about the yoga path is that I can only take so much on at a time. Like I really have to work the path, certain little parts. Otherwise, it's just not accessible to me.
Okay.
I feel like yoga's always taking care of me. Kind of like, you know, well, here's a little bite, work on that, and I do. And then something else will open up, and it's like, okay, well, I'll work on that now, you know? Can't integrate it all at once.
Okay.
So.
When you feel like you have integrated a different aspect, is that then, are you comfortable sharing that with your students?
It really depends.
Okay.
You know, how much I feel it in my own body and breath, and how I understand it.
Okay.
If it doesn't come really organically out of me, I don't go there. For years I didn't Om because I was like, it's kind of weird, you know, and yeah, probably the first 5 years of teaching I didn't Om.
Okay.
And now I can't see not.
Okay.
And who knows how that will shift over time, you know?
Yeah. So for you, once it's really become part of who you are, then you would be comfortable, you know, talking to someone about meditation, for instance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would want to be, I wouldn't say proficient, but I would at least want to have some steps that I feel comfortable with sharing, that I've experienced. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So you've been practicing for how long now?
About 15 years.
Okay. And you still have teachers that you work with?
I do. I still honor just so many teachers that I have worked with that I don't get to anymore, but they still inspire me. And then at the studio that I am at, I have wonderful teachers there. So, and then I just kind of go out in the community and as much as I can and try. The greatest teacher, though, that I found is just getting on my own mat and just really just doing it.
Yeah.
Stand there and do it. Yeah. And it's hard, I think, in the beginning, that home practice piece, because it's like, I don't know what the postures are, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And then when you just start understanding that there's no set way it needs to be, I mean, you find stability, you find joy, and then you move. Find the breath, you know, and it's really so much, it demystifies it a lot, I think, and if people can trust that and get onto their mat, it's the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
The greatest teacher.
That's a really good way to say it. So if a person came to you and said, you know, I went to some classes, you know, bought a book and read a little bit about yoga, but to be honest with you, I'm enjoying practicing by myself at home, you wouldn't have a problem with that?
No, not at all. Yeah, they've actually kind of stepped over that group piece, and that's you know, there's wonderful energy in a group, certainly.
Yeah,
but it ultimately comes down to you transcend the outer teacher and trust the inner.
I think it's an Estonian proverb that I read one time. It said, "The work will show you how to do it."
Yeah.
You know, and I'll be honest with you, in my own life, I've spent a lot of time reading books and doing less of the practice. And so I really like the way you're saying it today. Sure, you know, go to a group class and read on yoga if that's what you want to do, but the main thing is get on your mat.
Right.
So,
That's
you practice by yourself?
I do both.
Okay.
I will do my own thing mostly. And that could be anywhere from 5 to 6 times a week. And then other times I'll find myself kind of, you know, I pop in DVDs because I just have no real oomph, you know?
So teaching classes does not take the place of your practice?
Absolutely not, yeah. It's unsafe for the practitioner, it's unsafe for the teacher, and it's relatively unethical to not be there wholeheartedly for the practitioner, watching, looking, observing, and then teaching.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll say this, we've got some video that we're going to go to right now of Cypress teaching, and this was taken yesterday. And before we go, I do want to say this, the one thing about, I don't know if this is going to translate into the video, but Cypress she was just talking about being present, in a sense, as the teacher, and that's the sense that you get when you're in Cypress's class, for sure, that she is absolutely present with what's going on. So let's go ahead and watch the video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, here we are at Yogin now, getting ready for Cypress's class. Come on.
Stable strength, or if you'd like to, exhale to let the elbows release. Inhale, press them straight. Hips are squared to the broad edge of the mat. Inhale the arms out. As you exhale, reach your right hand toward the wall as much as you can and go into Trikonasana, enabling into that right hip. Right hand to the right shin, left hand to the side. Or you can do the opposite of that.
That was taken yesterday down at Yoga Now, and that's where Cypress teaches right now. So, do you teach at any other studios, by the way?
I don't teach at any other studios. I teach at other facilities,
Okay.
like an adult daycare and private sessions.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's it.
Great. While I'm thinking about it, I want to talk about the class, but while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead. I want to put the contact information up for Yoga Now right now. So here is the address and the phone number and the website. If you go to the website, you can find Cypress's schedule when she's teaching. And there are also other great teachers. If you like your yoga with a little more testosterone, go to Jimmy's class. That's a good class too, though. But one thing I wanted to ask you about the class is, before you go in, do you have the asanas, the postures in your mind planned out, or is it, how do you choose which way the class is going?
I used to really plan my classes, and I found that very prohibitive because then I couldn't really serve who was coming in with whatever conditions that were coming in that day.
Okay.
So I tend now not to. I don't plan. I mean, I might have like a pose that I'm going to build toward.
Okay.
But if it becomes clear as people walk in that it's not the right thing to do, like energetically, or maybe everyone's really tired, or there's just a certain air, I won't do it.
Okay.
So I tend just to go with whatever I see is needed.
And another thing, I know this has happened to me when I've gone into classes, you will see people coming in and going, hey Cypress, you know, I tweaked my shoulder, I tweaked my ankle, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Certainly have to work with all the physical
Yeah.
limitations and know how to make it so everyone in the room has a place to be, so no one's left out.
Right.
So kind of have to know a lot of places to go.
Okay. And then the modifications, you've done that for me. When I've told you, hey, my shoulder hurts, and then when this posture comes up, there's an alternative way to do it.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And there's no one way. I mean, because all bodies are different, it's amazing. You know, there's just no one way to do anything. You know, you can focus on so many different facets individually of a certain posture and notice where the imbalance is and then target that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too. That brings me to a point I wanted to bring up too, and that's the adjustments that yoga teachers are giving in class.
Yeah.
And you gave me one yesterday it was so nice. I was bent over, I forget the names, the Sanskrit names, but my shoulders were just all like this, and you just came up and you touched me on the shoulders, and they just relaxed.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you just need a reminder.
Yeah, and it felt really good. And like I said, I do have, I know that you're present and watching us all, and it just felt really good. It's just what I needed. And I was like, oh gosh, yeah, this is better.
Yeah,
So,
good.
Okay, now we do have one more video that I want to show, and then we can talk about that for a minute. And I'll just set this up. This is a video that the producer of the show, John Hanrahan, made. It's an animated film. It's about 3 minutes long. It's called Yogin, and well, you'll see what I mean. It says a lot about how a lot of us approach yoga. So let's watch that, and then we'll come back and talk about it for a minute. I've had the experience of going to yoga and just really trying so hard. And I think it says something about human nature and maybe even the Western mind. What did you get from John's film?
Well, I certainly saw that in my early days.
Okay.
I would push and push and push and push from kind of an achievement standpoint, because I had come from an athletic background, so more was always better. And I have always kind of broken myself down. You know, in those early years, it was just like injury after injury, and you know, I really feel in the early years I was doing yoga. I was just doing it. I wasn't actually experiencing it. I was doing it to do it. And I think sometimes that happens, you know, we get driven and thinking, you know, the rest of our lives are about, you know, getting more or acquiring. And I think that the physical practice can do that. It can be this place where you come and you try to get that posture, my goal posture.
Right.
And it really rips you out of the present moment because you're always trying to get somewhere else, never really experiencing what's happening right now and how authentic and real that moment is. Because no down dog, you could do it 1,000,000 times, and each one is different. But you have to be present to know that.
Right.
So.
Right. So that's something that you are able to notice sometimes in class. Your students, you see them really working hard. Is that something that you feel as a teacher you can be useful to the student to point that out in some way?
Right. There's certain attitude adjustments, you know, that certain words like, you know, you don't have to try this if your breath is out of, you know, out of alignment with your movement. Maybe trying something different, you know. Sometimes some a little more bold, but just trying to cultivate an awareness of just a calm seat. That's what asana is. It's a calm seat. And if it's really crazy and frenetic and your mind's always looking for the next, you know, the next thing, it's just not, it's not really yoga. It could just be your workout.
Right.
You might as well go to the gym.
Right.
Like the presence of the moment is so important in yoga.
That's a great way to end, I think. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So, okay, I think we'll bring the interview portion of the show to a close. Thanks, Cypress, so much for coming on. Yoga is 3,000-year-old path, and we just scratched the surface, so we're going to have to come back and talk about this one again in the future, and maybe you could join us again. Most important thing, there are tons of great yoga studios out there. Just get out and hit one of them and give it a try. Okay, thanks a bunch, Cypress.
Thank you.
Now it's time for Desert Island Books. That's our weekly book review. If you were on a desert island and once you had your water, your food, shelter, and clothing, once the essentials were taken care of and you had some luxury items, these are books that you would want to have with you. First book that we're going to do on the show is Perfect Brilliant Stillness by David Karse. And this is my copy. You can see how dog-eared it is. I've read it through at least 3 times, if not 4 times. Basically, it's an account of a fellow who lives in Vermont. His name is David Karse. He's a carpenter, still lives there. He had been doing some spiritual seeking for quite some time, some shamanic work, but nothing really remarkable had happened to him until he went down to the rainforest in Ecuador, and that's when he had a spontaneous enlightenment. And this is the account of what happened to him, and it's just remarkable. It's completely uncompromising in its message. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will tell you that this book isn't for everybody, and David tells you in the book, if you want to feel better or you want to self-actualize, this isn't the book for you. This is a book, it's about awakening, and it's maybe not what some people think it is. And I highly recommend it. It absolutely gets Dr. O's Golden Stethoscope Award. Go online and check it out. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank John, the producer, and Erica for helping out, and everyone else at Quote Unquote. And Colleen, and everyone else that I didn't name. Thanks a lot for letting us have the show. If you're enjoying the show, come back and see us next week. We'll be on at the same time. Tell your friends about it. We'll have a website up very soon. It'll be www.pathstowellness.net. We'll have a YouTube channel. I may even start tweeting at some point. So, yeah. And also, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them to me at dro@pathstowellness.net. So we want to leave you with something to chew on. It's called the Weekly Cud. This week the Cud comes from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote, "If we could read the secret histories of our enemies, we should find in each man's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostilities." Beautiful. Think about that. Okay, I'm out of here. Remember, it's your body, learn to take care of it. It's your mind, learn to sharpen it. It's your heart, learn to awaken it.
Keep on opening doors. Let the past pour out your pores. You cast hopeful